Okay, good afternoon, Niles. Thanks for tuning in today for Niles Voice of Business. This live stream features interviews with local professionals and village representatives to provide resources and insights for the businesses and community of Niles. Today, we are speaking with Mohan Zachariah, or Pastor Mo, who is lead pastor at CityLine Bible Church here in Niles on Caldwell. Welcome, Pastor Mo. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So, first, let's start with a little history about you. You've been at this church for 14 years. That's quite a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, 14 years I've been here. It's the first pastoring position I ever got, and I
Okay.
started in pastoring when I was about 35. So I just outed myself. If you're quick with math, 49 years old, and really love this community a lot.
So, what brought you here? What brought you to Niles?
Well, it was the position. We were attending a church that was in the far west suburbs, and they had a campus right over here in Niles. And so then, when an opportunity opened up for the pastor position at this local campus, I applied for it, interviewed, and then I got the opportunity. And so we moved to the area. So we lived within, 3 or 4 miles of the church, which is
Okay.
right there. It's like Church Row. It's the Greek Orthodox Church, and then
Right.
our church. And then there's a Romanian church and another Romanian church across the street. And so we're right there in the middle of all that.
Excellent. So, share a little history of City Line Bible with us.
Yeah, well, we date back actually to the 1800s. Back in the city of Chicago, there was, right during the Chicago fire, right afterwards, a little church was destroyed. And the people of that church started to meet and gather and pray on the corner of Halsted and Belden Avenue. And then they ended up founding a church. They built this beautiful stone building in 1888. And as a matter of fact, when you visit our church, you'll see stained glass windows. Those are portions of those stained glass windows that were hand painted in Germany and brought over and put in that building. And after the fire, and then they got started again, the church was thriving for many years. I think they had about 1,000 people worship center that they could fit in there. But the city was expanding and ended up giving an opportunity for the church to move out of the city. And they ended up buying this little piece of property, 3 acres right there on Caldwell. And at the time, there was a few houses on the property, and built this building. And then it was called Belden Baptist Church for many years. And by 2003, 2004, there was a lot of struggles. They didn't have a pastor anymore there, and it was kind of being led by some of the elders, but the church attendance had dropped quite a bit. And so they were struggling. And so they approached a church in the northwest suburbs and asked if they would come and help, because this church was planting churches and kind of being helpful in the world. And so that church agreed and came in and started to work right there. And our first service as a campus of this church, Harvest Bible Chapel, our first service, we had 110 people there after, there was, I think, 50 people in attendance the week before. And so the church started to grow pretty rapidly. And by 2006, so 2 years after becoming a campus, I was hired. We had about 450 people at the time at the church, and I came in and really got an opportunity to love this community and serve there. And the church just exploded in growth, and we were up to 12, 13, 1,400 people in a few years, and we were busting out. We didn't have room for people. They were sitting in the lobby, and I'm sure we probably broke a few fire codes. Don't rat us out now, I guess, at this point. But we didn't know what to do. People wanted to come and attend our church, and so we were very grateful for those years. And in 2013, we ended up building an expansion, and that's what we currently have. So we doubled our worship center. Now we have about 650 seats or so in there, or we can have. I think we have 500 plus seats, but we can get up to about 650 in there. And we've got, probably about 13 to 1,500 people coming regularly to our church right now. And so we're very thankful to be in this community here. We were called Belden Baptist Church, and then Crossway, then Harvest Bible Chapel. But in 2019, in September, we launched as CityLine Bible Church. We became an independent church,
Okay.
and we're located right. Obviously, we call ourselves CityLine because we're located right on the city line, and so we're between Niles and Chicago, just a couple blocks away. And we're a diverse church, so we're multi-ethnic. I'm Indian descent. We've got people from all nations gathered there, and we're intergenerational. So we've got people who are older, in their 90s, and we've got little babies being born into our nursery. So we're multi-ethnic, intergenerational, and we're just a diverse church of group of people that are trying to love God and love people right there in the community. So that's a little bit of
That's
our history.
awesome. That's great. Talk to us a little bit about the mission and philosophy. I know you're connected quite strongly with the Niles community. Can you share a little bit about some of those connections?
Sure. Our mission statement, I think mission statements really drive what an organization's about.
Sure.
McDonald's and Starbucks, everybody's got their mission statements and they're trying to be faithful to it. So our mission statement is from the Bible. We're a Bible church. And so we exist to love God, love people, make disciples for the glory of God. And so, Jesus, when he was here, he was teaching, and he said, they asked him, what's the greatest commandment? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And so for us, that's loving God, loving people. And then he also, before he left, after he was killed, crucified, died, buried, resurrected, he was going back to the Father, to God the Father, and he said to go into the world and make disciples. And so teach them, how to live, teach them about what I've taught you, and he would be with us forever. And so making disciples. And then for the glory of God, we live in a world where there's people have all kinds of views on God, and we're very grateful for really the diversity of our community also. But we believe that we exist for God's glory, here on earth. And so everything we do, when we talk about the glory of God, we want to just shine a light for God. We believe that we're created for God's glory. And so everything we're trying to do, we're not doing it perfectly, because I don't think anybody can do it perfectly here, but we're trying to give glory and honor to God as we do everything. So love God, love people, make disciples for the glory of God. That's our mission. And we do that here. We study the Bible every week. We have a worship service where we sing contemporary songs. We have a band with drums and, guitar, just beautiful musicians and, great voices. And then we spend probably about 35 to 40 minutes studying the Word of God. So I'm going verse by verse through one of the biographies of Jesus in the Bible called Luke. It's written by a man named Luke. And so we're going through that verse by verse. And so we study that to try to understand what God would have for us to do and how to live. And this week I am as we go through Luke, I'm in Luke chapter 4, and this is about the mission of Jesus. And so we're starting a new series this weekend on the mission of Jesus, which is to share the good news. And as we think about what Jesus has called us to do, it's really to love people. And so we want to be a loving community right here in the village of Niles. And so to love people and care for people. You asked to think about our connections with the village also.
I did. Yeah. I know you are
Yeah.
strongly connected with the Niles community. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are very connected with the Teen Center, and we got connected with them because the director of it, Mike Trevino, was a friend for a long time, and he actually comes to our church now. And Mike got in touch with us about this work that he was going to be taking over, and he told us a bit about the legacy of it. And when we heard about what you all were doing, once we became independent, we didn't really have access to resources locally to do things because we were part of a very large church in the Chicagoland area. But now that we're independent, we have some resources locally that we can use to invest in our community. And so we were able to bless the Teen Center and, pay for some renovations, and some labor came to make it a little bit nicer. And so we're thankful for that. That's like a new kind of a partnership that we have. Recently, we also, just what's been going on in the news, a lot of tension out there in the world. And we have a lot of police officers that come to our church. And we really, we love the police officers and their service in the community. And so recently we provided bag, just a small token, a little gift bag for the police officers in Niles. And we wanted them to know how much we appreciate their service here. And, if there's any firefighters coming, watching, it's coming. We're coming for you too very soon. But we really just want to express our thankfulness to the community that keeps us safe and takes care of so much around the area. So those are a few of the connections that we have with the village right now.
Excellent. Let's see, where are we? So everyone has had to make changes due to COVID, right? I can't think of a business or anyone operating that hasn't had to make changes.
Yeah.
How have these affected CityLine Bible? What did worship look like a year ago? What did it look like 6 months ago? What does it look like now?
Yeah, well, COVID hit right after we became officially independent. So in March 1st, that's when we had purchased the building and we were starting our worship services to meet in person. We launched with, just a great party to celebrate what God was doing. And then 2 weeks later, shut down. So we had to change right away, and so I always wanted to be a local church, not really looking to do a bunch of things online. I knew we would have our service available for people online because sometimes people aren't able to make it to service, and we wanted them to be able to access some of the content, the teaching and things, but we didn't stream our worship service. And so we got things ready in just a matter of moments, and we streamed out our worship service. So we didn't have anybody in the building on the weekend. We recorded everything in advance. And then for the next several months, we would just meet in this way where we pre-recorded the service and we sent it out so that everybody could be safe while we were trying to figure out how to navigate this new world. And then when the restrictions kind of lifted up, we wanted to be good citizens and neighbors. We don't want to cause any problems here in the village of Niles. And we know that everybody's trying to figure out how to navigate this pandemic. It's all news and new to us. And so we didn't want to make it hard on everybody. So we tried to keep our rules according to what the state was asking us to do. And so we're very thankful that eventually things opened up and we could start to meet again. So we're meeting with limited numbers of people according to the protocols that the CDC have set forth. And so we sit 6 feet apart. We've removed a lot of chairs from the worship center. We take temperatures. Everybody has to wear a mask when they're in there. And we sanitize everything between services. And so we haven't had any outbreaks or any illness through our services. And so we're very thankful. So it just looks very different from when we were together in person. Yeah. And it's challenging, but we're making the most of it. And we have probably about 400 people or so coming back right now. So a quarter of our church is back in the building with us, and others are just not ready to come back yet, but we hope that'll happen soon.
And you're still streaming to your website, or?
Yeah. You can get everything at citylinebiblechurch.org. And so we've got our website there. If you click on that website, the link, then you can access our weekend service, Saturday, 5 p.m., Sunday at 9 and 11:15. And you can access all that content there.
Okay. How have the staff and congregation needed to adapt to make this work?
Well, we had to get a lot of technology. We didn't have good video cameras, and we didn't have some of the technology back behind the scenes in order to make this work. So we had to figure that out. Our worship pastor, Pastor John Collado, he's got this beautiful voice. If you ever get an opportunity to listen, to come to a service, I mean, he's just got this beautiful gospel voice. And he had to figure out like all the technology things. Now he's good at that too, but we're very thankful for people like that who are able to pivot and change and figure things out. And our staff pastor Ken, who's my partner there in ministry, he's our executive pastor. He just got after it and figured it out. And so we were very grateful for that kind of pivot that could happen right away. But then we started just working from home, and we were grateful. Like even now I'm at home. It set up another opportunity for us to be able to continue to stay in touch with people. We got Zoom accounts, and so we ended up having small groups meet online, and so they're doing through Zoom. Like our small group continues to meet through Zoom, and it's not ideal, but it's it's keeping us moving, keeping us going. And then we had to check in on people. We've got elderly folks in our church that are
Yeah,
not able to access the internet. So we had an idea. We got DVD players and we dropped them all off. And then every week we drop off a DVD to the elderly who can't,
that's great.
yeah, we're just trying to, keep as in touch as possible with our church. We love our church family so much, and, it's challenging. And so we're just trying to make the most of it.
That is awesome. Um, the next question, we may have already talked about this, but the outreach effort that you're most proud of at CityLine.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for our food pantry and our homeless ministry.
Oh,
Our food pantry feeds about, well, during, I would say pre-COVID and then post-COVID, there's different ways we did it, but we would feed about, 40 different families through our food pantry regularly when we were meeting together. And, it was an opportunity for people in the community to come, and we would have like a, short little service, and we'd have a food that was prepared, like a breakfast, a hot meal, and we would eat with the people that came as well. And then we had food available, and we would give them groceries and pray with anybody that wanted prayer, just trying to be a loving testimony and witness right here in Niles. And so I'm very grateful for that. And we had to change that as well. Now we do drop off on the curbside, and we're continuing to do that. And so we're about to have a food drive in January because our resources are getting a little bit depleted, but we're thankful that we can support in that way. And then we have a homeless ministry, and there's not a lot of homeless in Niles. I don't know. I haven't seen any. There might be that I just don't know of, but we go to areas where there are homeless, and we try to be a blessing there by providing food. And that's a monthly outreach that happens, food and clothes at times and things like that. So I'm very grateful for the loving way that our community, that our church community takes care of things.
that's great. What would you say to someone looking for a church home that had never been to CityLine Bible?
Um, well, we are a diverse church, and we have people coming from all walks of life, ethnic backgrounds, like I said, but also socioeconomic. We got people that are coming from up in the North Shore, and then down to the city of Chicago. I would say that we are a church that, we have strong convictions, about what the Bible teaches, and we try to share that with passion. But we're also very mindful that there's people who don't agree with the things that we agree with. And so we want to be a welcoming place. And so we have opportunities to talk and engage with people. And, I hope that people, when they come to our church, would find that it's not a judgmental place, but a loving place where people can explore faith in God and try to understand, why Jesus came to earth and what his mission was and why he had to die. Just think about this perfect person, Jesus, who the children would come to. Like even nowadays, a lot of respect for Jesus out in the world, maybe not so much respect for the church or for Christians because some of the stuff that we see out there, but we're just trying to have that balance in our church of being loving and truthful, and a place where people can engage and try to find out what's going on. We've got a lot of marriages that are, people come to our church because their marriages are in trouble, or people are hurting in some way. They're lonely, they're struggling. And, for us, even though we're not perfect, we are loving, and it's a safe place to process life and ask questions. So we have a lot of opportunities for people in our community if they have any need. And that's what we said, even part of our vision is we want to be a trusted source of care for the village of Niles. So that's what I would say about our church, that we're a pretty fantastic community, and we love to eat. And because we're international, we do something every year. This year it's different. Post-COVID, and we do an international food fest. And it's just like, we
Nice.
set up all this food out in the parking lot from all over the world. And, I know next door they got the Greek food fest, and we participate in that too. And that's awesome. But we've got Greek people, but we've also got, African and Korean and
Yeah,
Indian and Filipinos and Romanians. We got like, this massive group of people that bring all kinds of great food. So
that's
you
awesome.
come for the food and stay for the
Well, that's
fellowship.
perfect segue because we like to finish with your favorite place to eat in Niles.
Man, I love to eat, and it's so hard for me to limit it to just one. And even when I was, about to share a couple, I had to look on. I was like, "Oh, that's in Morton Grove. Oh, that's in Skokie," because it's all like so
I
close,
know. Yeah, we're all
So
close.
I am gonna share one. I'm actually gonna share two that are in Niles, and I love these places. First is Barnaby's Pizza. I love Barnaby's Pizza. That crust, I mean, is like
It's
unlike
amazing,
anything else.
right?
It's so good.
Yeah.
And but then one of my favorite places to go, and I set up a lot of meetings there, is the Howard Street Inn. Just love the food. It's like it was so surprising when I went there. I didn't expect it, but I was like, the food was very good. And I went there on a Friday. I don't know if they're still doing this, but they used to smoke the barbecue, the smoke the meat, like there on every Friday, and it was just
Nice.
incredible. And I would tell people, you got to
Yes.
come to this place for barbecue, and they couldn't believe, this like
Yeah.
golf course, a restaurant right on the golf course had great barbecue. So I love that restaurant.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Pastor Mo, thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Thank you, Alicia. It was really good. You got maybe a future in like late night TV or something. You're a great host.
Oh, gosh, I hope not.
All
Thanks. We'll
right.
see you soon, Pastor Mo.
Thank you. Bye bye.